You are listening to the E2C Network, where the Auburn family speaks.
What Auburn fans, welcome to No Huddle, your source for Auburn football news and discussion, part of the E2C Network. I'm AJ Richardson, and I'm also here with my buddy, Jared Davis. Hey, Jared, football is back. We actually got to see some this Saturday. NFL preseason is going on. It feels like summer still, but it's getting closer to fall. Like the weather's slowly cooling down. You can feel it in the air. It's so close to watching some Auburn football, and we get to watch Auburn football with potentially a packed stadium, maybe this first game. How excited are you about getting to see some Auburn football in just a few days?
Well, if the weather would, start feeling more fall-esque, I would be even more excited. This is always confusing times because the humidity is brutal here in Atlanta, at least. And there was football games on yesterday, and it was kind of hard to get into the spirit. But definitely excited. That first game is no matter who you're playing, is always exciting. And it'll be cool to have fans because we haven't, after last year. So it's going to be a fun time, man. We got a lot of good football Saturday, and then obviously our team as well. So I'm pumped.
Yeah, and I think what makes it even a little bit more exciting is, going from 20% of your stadium is filled and very spread out to now potentially up to 100%. And then you kind of combine that with a new coaching staff, new regime change. And there's a lot of new things that I think this Akron game would normally be probably overlooked if we had the same coaching staff. But there's a lot of new things that you're probably about to see that Brian Harsin and Derek Mason is going to bring on the defense. So, and Mike Bobo on offense as well, kind of that combined Brian Harsin, Mike Bobo offense. So there's a lot of new things, a lot of new players, especially wide receivers for Auburn. And there's a lot of fun things just to kind of keep an eye out for. So we'll get into some of those specifics a little bit later on of which players we're going to be watching, and we'll get into some of those predictions that it's fun. We're trying to predict how this team's going to be under this new coaching staff. All right, Jared, let's start out with a kind of a topic about it's going to be a night game. It's actually going to be on ESPN Plus, which I couldn't find it on regular cable. So if you're gonna watch it, it sounds like they may force you to get ESPN Plus, which is slightly a bummer. If you want to watch it, I know the radio broadcast you can get that for free, but you may have to get the ESPN Plus. I'm not 100% sure about that, but at least that's the way it looks right now. So just kind of, plan it out. Make sure that if you want to watch it on Saturday night at 6:00 Central Time, you're going to be able to watch it. Is kind of what I'm saying.
Yeah, so viewers don't see the SEC network and think, oh, never mind, I can watch it. It's SEC Network Plus as well. So it's one of the two. Both of them, from our brief Google searching, are not on your normal TV. So yeah, like AJ said, you're probably going to have to sign up for one of those or do a free plan to be able to watch this game.
Yeah, and there may be some free plans, have it for 7 days for free. And if you want to watch it, I think, what is it, monthly, about $6 a month or something. It's not the most expensive thing, or $5 a month. It's
much
really
cheaper than going.
Yeah, it's a lot cheaper than going.
If you're doing budgeting.
That's true. Would you rather spend X dollars to watch it on TV? And but if you do decide to go, I think there's an added benefit of just the excitement level and the night game itself with the LED lights. I'm really excited this season. At some point, I'm going to go to a night game and enjoy the LED lights. When we score a touchdown, it's going to be just feels like a party inside Jordan Hare. And I'm ready for that kind of thing. So I'll definitely be looking forward to experiencing that for the first time. I know some people got to experience last year, and that was the first year of having the new LED lights. I think that's going to be a cool experience for the fans and players too. I mean, not to mention the players. I've heard that they love it as well.
Are you planning on going to the first one?
Not the first one, but I'll probably go to at least one of the other kind of night games as they go. I'm kind of like, I really want to go to the Georgia game. I really want to go to that. And I have a feeling it's going to be an evening, like 3:30 or like a 6 o'clock game, which they'd probably still do some of the light stuff, especially if it's a night. So that's kind of my hope right now, is to get one of those.
That would be a good one to go to, man. Well, hopefully it'd be a good one to go to.
But let's also talk about, I mean, was it about 2 weeks ago? Was it 2 weeks ago when Harsin, announced he had COVID, but he was asymptomatic. So there was just, lots of stuff going on, just crazy articles accusing Harsin of things. And it just seemed like a lot of clickbaity kind of stuff. And ultimately that was something that I feel like kind of took over Auburn for a little bit, right before the season. And I at this point, Harsin's good to go. I think, what is it, Jared? He's coming back, tomorrow, or I guess it would be Monday. So as far as I'm aware, he's going to be back. And also Derek Mason's back. So as far as we're aware, the coaching staff's ready to go. And they'll get at least a full week of practicing with the team and seeing what they're like before this first game against Akron. Jared, I did want to talk about another battle, and this is the battle everybody talks about. It's the quarterback battle. But going into this first game, how are you feeling? Bo Nix, TJ Finley, what are you thinking with that?
It started dwindling. Honestly, I thought Bo Nix, probably 70-30, and then the lowest I'd gotten was 60-40, and then started hearing some of the performance reviews after, from practice, and I was like, it may be 50-50, but, judging Harsin last maybe Thursday, whenever he did his thing, his Zoom video call,
yeah,
he said if it was today, when he was talking, if it was today, it'd be Bo Nix. So I feel like Bo's going to start. I don't know that either one of them are blowing the coaches away, but I think it's going to be Bo. And I hope they all perform well, and we still get to see TJ, meaning we're ahead that much.
Yeah.
But if Bo's not really, they may have a plan to give them both a shot anyways. Like give them a couple of series, and let's see what they do in real game action. So I don't think there's any way to know, but I do think Bo, I've gone back and forth on this. I think Bo takes the first snap.
I'm kind of leaning towards the same way. Like, I think we will see both TJ and Bo. It's going to be, I'd say, mostly Bo if I had to, put my name next to what I predicted. But I think TJ will get some snaps, and it'll be good to see him in a live game situation. We've gotten to see some practice videos of him, and some of the news out of the practices has been pretty good, like you had mentioned. And Bo's kind of, still having some of his issues, but as we know, Bo is one of those players. He's such a determined guy. And I ultimately, whether or not Bo wins this job by the end of the season, I think TJ Finley being here is probably one of the best things possible. Because as much as we love Grant Loy was not really pushing Bo Nix to be the best person that he could be last year. And I think TJ Finley's pushing Bo Nix in a good way. So I'm leaning towards Bo Nix, but it would not shock me if TJ Finley gets in there for a few series. And I did hear this kind of one scenario and wanted to see if this kind of, what you thought of this, Jared. So what if, the coaching staff said first half is Bo Nix, all yours, run the offense, do your thing. Second half, we're going to keep the first team out there, and we're going to have TJ Finley instead at quarterback, just to kind of, 50-50 split. What do you think of that?
I'm not a coach, so I'm not sure. I think, honestly, that is a little dangerous just in case the second half was closer than you expected. I think it would be more of a let's do all this in the first half and then go with the hot hand in the second half. Personally, I think
Okay.
you give and it could be back-to-back series. You give them a couple of series, and then whoever's looking the best, you roll with them almost until the game's comfortable. I just feel like if you go first half, second half, you almost are kind of locking in with that. And then if Finley gets in there and doesn't do well, and we're not really ahead like we want to be, it just messes up rhythm now of bringing Bo back in. So I don't know. Personally, I think it would be more of a let's give you a couple of series, go with the hot hand. But that's just my thought. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think your thoughts. I mean, I think that from a coaching perspective, that would probably be the best way to do it. Is give them a couple series, build some unity with their team, drive down the field, score a touchdown, and then give the other guy a chance. See how they lead the team down the field. Do a few series with them versus almost. I feel like it's just like a cut. It's a very sterile kind of situation. Like, oh, you get this first half, second half, you get this, and it's like, but first halves and second halves, as you know, can be completely different, and especially for Auburn fans.
They are, and to be honest with you, I don't want it to be predetermined because if Bo's out there in a rhythm, Bo doesn't have a ton of confidence, so we don't need to be like, oh, Bo's in a rhythm, he's cool, let's bring in TJ and get. No. If Bo goes out there and he's in a rhythm, I think you ride with Bo until the game's out of hand, and then you bring in TJ.
Yeah.
Because we need to get Bo confident. So I don't even want it to be predetermined. I'd like to see them both.
Yeah.
But I want it to be like, if Bo's out there doing well, don't say, okay, Bo had 2 really good drives. He did well. Now let's see what TJ can do. No, we need to build on that. We need to get Bo as much positive reinforcement as possible. And so I would say keep going with that. Keep going with that. He may play the whole first half. He may play into the third quarter. And then you say, okay, we're going to rest him so we don't get him hurt.
Right. And I think that could be even a better way of approaching it is saying you need to, if you keep going and you're doing well, I mean, he's in a new offense. He's under a new coaching staff.
Right.
I feel like I feel like any reps at this point is kind of good reps. Even if something bad goes wrong in it, you learn from it because ultimately, I think these first 2 games against Akron and Alabama State are kind of meh. Like, we should be able to just dominate both of these teams. And this leads into the third game where we play Penn State. And Penn State is a team that's going to show, I think that's going to show a lot about this team because that's going to be our first big competition of the year. And I think any reps anybody gets in those first couple of games are going to be instrumental in building the chemistry and anything else that kind of goes along with just playing an actual game. So that's kind of my thoughts on it. All right, let's also talk about specifically some of the Akron, just kind of high level what you need to know about them. Akron's defense actually was pretty good against the pass last year. They had a really good pass rush, which, as we know, that was one of Auburn's weaknesses last year. Now I know Akron's competition's not as good, but I think that's going to be something to be watching for, is just to see how well Auburn's offensive line kind of looks at different pass rushes that Akron's going to throw at them and defends it. And, how well the quarterback's able to stand in the pocket when there's pressure or roll out. And get it to an open receiver. Something else just to kind of note, the Zips D-line. The Akron Zips defensive line is not very good. Their front 7, not good. They allowed last year, I think they were 120th in the nation as far as rush defense. So they allowed on average 6.3 yards per carry.
Wow.
6.3. I mean, think about it. Jared, if I could tell you run the ball and on average you're going to get 6 yards a carry, what would you do?
Pass? I would never pass.
Right?
I'm not good at math, but 2 of those you got a first down every time.
Right. And you have 3 plays to usually get first downs before you decide on fourth down to punt it or kick a field goal. So that's a lot of yards. just to keep marching down the field. And when you got talented running backs like I think Auburn has this year, I mean, Auburn would be dumb, I feel like, if they didn't run the ball a lot this game, just with how bad the Zips D-line was last year. So that's just kind of my thinking on it. If Auburn doesn't run the ball, I mean, the number that stuck out in my mind was at least 50 times, if not even 60 this game. I might be a little disappointed.
What would Charles Barkley call their defensive line?
Probably terrible.
Terrible. That's what he would say. They're terrible. Yeah, that's at least on the rushing yards allowed. Did you already mention? Forgive me if you did. That they did have a pretty good pass rush.
Yes. Yeah, I'd already mentioned that, but I think that's a key thing. Like Auburn's offensive line really needs to kind of work on we need to really step up there, and see where we're at. Because from my understanding, they've been still rotating in a lot of guys. I'm sure this last week will probably be all right, let's cement our top 5 offensive line and get those guys ready to go for the season. But this will be a good first game to see how they do all together.
Hey Auburn fans, I want to take a quick timeout from this episode to bring your attention to something very special. Here at the E2C Network, we pride ourselves on bringing you the best content for Auburn fans out there. And best of all, it's free to you. But just because it's free doesn't mean there aren't costs, especially when you have a library of hundreds of podcasts, videos, blogs, and more. Many of you have reached out and asked how you can support this network in the past. Well, now I have your answer. It's called the E2C Network Booster Club over at patreon.com/E2C Network. There you'll find a membership monthly reward system where you can sign up for as little as $1 and get different perks at different tiers. Some of those perks include things such as apparel, eligibility to join us on future podcasts, recognition as an E2C Network booster, exclusive communications, and bonus content that is available nowhere else. If you love this network and want to help us keep producing podcasts like this one, please head on over to patreon.com/E2C Network to join the E2C Network Booster Club. You can also get there by going to our website, e2cnetwork.com/support. Whether you decide to join or not, we are still so appreciative that you would support us by just listening and being here, because each and every one of you is part of our E2C Network family. Well, that's it. Timeout's over. Let's get back into the episode.
You mentioned wanting to run it 60 times. I'll be honest with you. I meant to say this. I don't think Bo starts because of his arm. I think Bo starts because of his athletic ability. And I think, and some of the, I don't know if it was A-Day or some of the stuff I've seen, we've run a little more zone read than I thought a Bobo offense had in it. So I could see a little bit of that being utilized. I could see rollouts being utilized with him taking off if it's not there. So I think Bo's very athletic, and I think that's what's going to win him the job, and that'll maybe open up even more holes for the running backs to run if they have to be at least cognizant of Bo keeping the ball.
Yeah, I think so as well. I mean, and that kind of harkens back to I think it's what we've seen from him as far as his athletic ability. It's there, at least for the first game. That's why I think he'll get the start. Jared, let's talk about kind of positions. Which ones are you going to be focusing on for this first game? I think the most obvious one is going to be offensive line. We've already mentioned it.
Really? Do we have any problems there?
Any other positions that you're going to be watching for this first game to see how we do?
I really hope we get to move on from this after the first few games. But the two big ones are going to be O-line and quarterback. I mean, it has to be. That's number one. That's where the offense starts. Not much clicks after that if those two don't get it together, and that's our biggest problem. So I'm going to be watching those. Running back, I almost feel like I've just kind of forgotten about them. That's like it's like your child that never misbehaves. You almost just forget they're there. Because we got Tank and we got Shivers. So, but you want to get to see them play. So I'm excited about that. So offensively, that's what I'm most going to keep an eye on. You got anything on offense, or you want to take over the defense and let me know what you're looking at? What are your thoughts?
I mean, I on offense, the only other one that I'm really looking at, because I think our running back situation is a good spot. I think wide receivers is where, if we pass a handful of times, I want to see how they do. I don't think we're going to do anything crazy. We're going to have probably a vanilla pass offense because we don't need to do anything crazy this first game. That would be the only other offensive position group that I'd feel like that we might want to watch. But I mean, it also wouldn't shock me. I mean, I said we'd run 50 plus times, but I think we might only pass the ball like 10 to 15 times in this game. And that may be by design. Just hand the ball off. Get your timing down on that. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Let's get into our next section, which is the players to watch, and not just like position groups. We kind of touched on that, but specific players that you're going to be watching for this game. We're going to do the same format as we've done last year, which was talking about offense, defense, and special teams of which players you're going to be watching at each of those position groups. And Jared, what side? Let's start with offense. Who's your player that you think you're going to be watching for this first game?
Well, it might be the players that are not present. I don't know if we were holding out some players or for other reasons, but this last scrimmage, I did not see Elijah Canyon, Xavion Capers, or Kobe Hudson mentioned. Everybody was first team, and the receivers out there were Shedrick Jackson, I think the rookie guy that everybody likes, or the freshman, and then one other player. They were not Xavion. It was not Elijah Canyon. It was not Kobe Hudson. So I'm going to be watching that whole receiving core really to see who starts. I'm very curious now to see who the starters are going to be.
Yeah. I mean, we've gotten some glimpses over the last couple of weeks of practices that have happened and people being able to see inside. But this is going to be the true first. Like, is there any outbreaks of COVID or maybe some other stuff going on as well? I haven't heard anything personally. I'm going to probably bet it's more of a COVID thing. These guys were exposed, so they had to, they're not there for, practice or now for a game. So that would be my guess.
Who's the freshman? Do you remember his name that everybody likes? It's not Jaquez.
Yeah, it's the running back.
Okay,
I'm not 100% sure.
Well, he's a guy that's been getting a lot of praise, and I think he's either a redshirt or a straight up freshman. If he comes out in the starting role, I'm going to be pretty impressed because that means the hype was real.
Yeah, absolutely. The guys I'm going to be watching, I'm just going to say it in general, is going to be wide receivers. But specifically, I want to see Elijah Canyon kind of show out. If he can show out this game, I mean, he's already shown he's pretty capable. But I'm going to be watching Elijah Canyon on offense. I think also kind of, honorable mention is, Bo Nix, see how he does. But I think the other key ones are going to be the wide receiver core, see how they do.
Javaris Johnson was the guy I was talking about.
Yes.
So
JJ, but the wrong JJ.
That'll be easy. We'll call him JJ. There you go.
All right, Jared, let's talk about defense. Who are you going to be watching on defense for this first game against Akron?
I think I'm going to be watching the linebacking group because, that's a pretty packed. I know you keep wanting players, and I apologize, but once the season starts, I'll probably be a little more in tune to players. But we've got a lot of, we've moved T.D. Moultrie apparently back to linebacker. We brought in Chandler Wooten came back.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was a linebacker, if I'm not mistaken. We already got Jacoby McLean, and we got Owen Papo, so it's a pretty loaded room there. I want to see what they do with T.D. Moultrie, how they utilize him. I want to see what role Chandler Wooten is. Is he a starter? I mean, they made him team captain. That was pretty impressive.
Yeah.
After being out last year, so that group intrigues me the most, I would say. But if you pin me down to one player out of the linebacker, I would say T.D. Moultrie, just to see how they utilize him.
Right. Yeah. I think T.D. Moultrie just is a one that, I don't know, over the last couple of years, I'm not going to say like underperformed to like our standards, but like he hasn't had the breakout moment that we've all kind of hoped of him. And if he can do that this season, that would be awesome for him and his career. And maybe this is the defense that kind of clicks for him. But you've already mentioned the guy I was going to mention, Chandler Wooten, because I think Chandler, I mean, let's think about his story. Like, he ultimately took off last year because he was having a kid. He had a kid, and now he's back. He's back and really fired up and ready to go. I pretty much heard like he was ready to go from the get-go. He was in shape, and it really showed because his team voted him to be one of the team captains this year. And I feel like that says a lot about a guy to be a team captain. And Chandler Wooten, you can just tell his heart, his motivation is to be the best out there. So I want to see him do well in this new defense and see what he can do this year to improve on the last few years that he's played, minus 2020 for him. Let's also talk about special teams, Jared. Who are you going to be watching on special teams?
Probably just the Carlson's kind of the kid that doesn't misbehave again. So I feel like I'm taking him for granted. So I'm just curious to see the groups we send out there on kick return, and then who's going to be the punt returner. Mm-hmm. At this point, it's all speculation, so we don't really know. Are we going to put? I know we've talked about this. Is Harsin going to follow the Gus model of kind of put your best players out there? Are we going to put Tank back there on kick returns? And hope try to steal a touchdown here or there. I mean, I don't know. What are we going to do with that? So I think that intrigues me a little bit. Obviously not as intriguing as the offensive and defensive side of the ball, but we forget about special teams a lot of times, and that could be the difference in winning and losing. So that is a very important part. Yeah,
and one of the things that during the off season, it sounds like a lot of emphasis has been put on special teams, which I personally like. Because there is, like you said, a lot of times where special teams can flip a game. You get a big return. You pin a guy and you kick a punt and it's at down at the 2-yard line. That's really hard to come back and score from that. You flip the field real quick on those kinds of situations. So I feel like special teams can be such a good area that I feel like needs some more focus.
I've probably, not to jump in real quick, but I've probably, since Saban has been there and since Kirby's been at Georgia, I've probably seen about 10 games between the two of those teams where they won strictly because of an opportunistic defense or a great punt return. Mm-hmm. They've been in tight battles, and a punt return, Georgia beat us with a punt return in 2015 at home when that game was just like nobody can move the ball. Punt return won the ball game. So, it is a big deal. I know we forget about it, and I kind of haphazardly told you I prefer talk about the other two positions, but it's a big deal.
Yeah, I think so too. The guy I think I'm going to be watching is who's the punter, because is it going to be Aiden Marshall or is it now Oscar Chapman? Like, what's it going to be like for a punting situation? Now, honestly, I kind of hope this game we don't have to punt at all. But if we do, I want to see who comes out first and does well. So I feel like that's also a good, they can flip the field pretty quick. So could we do like a best ball where we put them both back there and they punt and we get to choose which one went further? I mean, maybe. Is that a thing? You put two. I've seen it once before I've seen it multiple times actually, where you put two punt returners back. Yeah. It's kind of the same thing, but two punters. Yeah, we put two punters, and we use two balls, and whoever goes the furthest, we get to take that one. Yeah, because that's totally legal. Why not? Hey, we're changing all kinds of rules. Let's just put that one in there too. Right. Yeah. Hey, here's what you do, because Saban does this. Put it under a player safety. It's for player safety. That's what it's for. Yes. Yeah. So totally under player safety. Yeah. That's how you get it passed. That's it. Jared, let's go into our last little segment here and go into some of our score predictions for this Akron game. We are right now a 37-point favorite over the Akron Zips. Preseason, in our preview, we had both predicted Auburn winning. I predicted us to win by 38 points, and you predicted us to win by 29 points. Jared, any kind of changes with that, or maybe ways you see this game kind of going now that we're getting real close to this first game? Not really, honestly. I mean,
if anything, I put us 42-13. I don't know that we score more than 42 just because I don't think it's even going to be the plan to. I could see us not giving up 13. So if my spread changes, it would be more of a not giving up as many. I just don't know that. I think it's going to be a conservative game plan and run the ball. Although if we average almost 7 yards a carry, then that's going to be a whole different story. But yeah, I think 42-13. I feel pretty good with that. How are you feeling about that? You're picking more than Vegas is. How are you feeling about that 38 points?
Yeah, I think we get more than 37-point victory on this game. When I was looking back at the Zips, they struggled a lot. There were games they were barely getting 10 points in a game, and that was against their competition. So if they get more than 10 points, I'm going to be actually really disappointed in our defense because I think our defense is really good this year. And I really do think if we can run the ball, we're going to score, I think, 42 points, if not 50 points this game. So that's where I'm kind of thinking we beat them by 38, maybe even a little bit more than that. So
can I say I like your score better? I hope I'm not right. I hope it's a 38-point spread.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'm being too optimistic here, and maybe I'm just getting too hyped because we're close to football season, but I don't really care. All right, I'm going with my score, 38
there you
points.
Go, man. Hey, well, nobody really knows, so it's not like anybody. I'm not knocking yours at all. I mean, it could very easily be that.
Yeah.
I'm just, it's just weird. I mean, we really don't know what to expect, right? I mean, we have no idea. Harson's never coached in the SEC.
Yes.
And just we're still kind of coming off a weird year last year. How did that affect players carrying over to this year? So who knows?
Yeah. And maybe that's part of the fun of this year. I mean, I think it is. It's not like it was a regular year last year, but at the same time, we still have these talented players, and I think we've got some good potential here to have not the best of seasons that probably we think a 10-win season. I don't think we're at that level, but I think we could have a good start and a good start to this Harsin era and build on that so that come next year we might have a shot at competing for an SEC championship or making it to the playoffs. Anything. I mean, I feel like that's kind of in the realm of possibility in the next 2-3 years. Really having a good enough team that we could do that. So this is kind of like the building blocks of seeing how we can do this year under the new system, offensive, defensively.
I like it.
All right, Jared, before we get out of here, how can the people stay in touch with you?
You can just find me on Facebook under my name, Jared Davis.
And you can find me on Twitter at AJAY, JAY_. It's always great to be an Auburn Tiger, and War Eagle.
War Eagle.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode on the E2C Network. On your way out, I want to remind you to stop by e2cnetwork.com. It's your one-stop shop for all our content across our podcast, YouTube channel, and much more. To stay up to date with us, make sure you're following social media accounts such as Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. While our content here may always be Auburn sports heavy, if it's orange and blue, it's what we do. War Eagle.